I hope you really enjoyed watching that video with that girl explaining how flying works. I just loved how she explained it. So she was mostly talking about how airplanes do it, but airplanes and the designers, people who designed airplanes, really got their ideas from watching birds. We talked about this when we were at school about something called biomimicry, that we have mimicked animals or copied animals, and especially their structures, to help us solve human problems or things that we wanted to do. It wasn't really a problem we couldn't fly, but it helped us solve how to do it by observing the structures of the birds. So I'm going to read this book to you, and we're going to stop every now and then and talk about little parts of it and how it has to do with flying. How and why birds fly. Okay. All animals need some kind of locomotion or ability to move. Flight is the main mode of locomotion used by most of the world's bird species. Locomotion, the ability to move. Okay. Birds have many physical features or structures besides wings that work together to enable them to fly. Lots of their structures are all built to help them with the function or the job of flying. Birds have evolved many features or structures to make flight possible. The skeleton is strong but light, with a large breastbone to support powerful muscles for flapping wings up and down. The wings are key to bird flight. Birds have wings covered with feathers, which allow most of them to fly. The wings themselves are curved on top, flatter beneath. Air travels faster over the top surface of the wing, reducing air pressure on the top of the wing and creating lift. So here, if we look at this diagram, this is what the wing would look like from the side. It's curved on the top, but flatter on the bottom. So the air is actually moving slower on the bottom and faster as it goes over the top. The faster air actually creates less of what's called pressure. And that's what you guys did when you watched that video. I hope you had a piece of paper with you with that Bernoulli's principle, where if I blew over the top of it, if you didn't do that during that video, I want you to try it now. You're going to blow over the top of the paper and see what happens. The paper went up, and it even went up more the faster I blew the air. The fast-moving air creates pressure, does less pressure. It's not pushing it down. It's actually creating less pressure. More pressure would be like if you're putting pressure on something, pushing it down. Less pressure is creating that part of flying called lift. So the curve, just the structure of this bird's body, of the wing, is helping lift happen. So, pretty amazing. Try it. Bernoulli's principle. Flying over the top of the curve is actually the fast-moving air is creating less pressure. That's part of how the bird has lift. But a bird, to get its lift, to start it off, or the thrust actually part of it, that the flapping of their wings sometimes helps them get the thrust. They don't have a jet on the back of them propelling them or pushing them forward. They have to flap. Sometimes when you watch them, you'll see them run first. Some birds do that, especially some water birds that will look like they're running on the water. They're doing that to get the thrust that they need along with their wings flapping. It's like a big push. And then get the air moving over the tops of their curved wings to get the lift to lift them up in the air. It's really, really pretty amazing. Larger wings produce greater lift than smaller wings. So smaller winged birds need to fly faster to maintain or keep up the same lift as those with larger wings. Birds or feathers on a bird's wings provide a lightweight but solid surface to push against the air. A bird's feathers also keep them warm and dry. When a bird is gliding, it doesn't have to do any work. The wings are held out to the side of the body and do not flap. Ooh, it's just gliding on air. Birds' wings flap with an up and down motion. This propels or thrusts them forward. Some birds are small and can manipulate or move their wings and tail to move back and forth easily. Birds developed the ability to fly in order to adapt to their environment. Flight helps or assists birds while feeding, breeding, and avoiding predators. Flying also allows them to escape nasty weather and migrate to warmer temperatures. Many species migrate every year. Flight is also used by some species to display during the breeding season and to reach safe, isolated places for nesting. Flight takes more energy or is more energetically expensive for larger birds, and many of the largest species fly by soaring and gliding as much as possible. We're going to watch a little video together, and then in my next video for you, I'm going to have you build 2 paper airplanes, and you're going to do a little flight contest or experiment between the 2 paper airplanes. You won't be able, the thrust will have to do with how hard you throw your paper airplane. So that'll just be for fun to do a little science experimentation. For now, though, I want to watch some of this together.
Well, it mostly has to do with the shape of their wings and how they move them. When a bird flies, it flies through the air, and the air flows over and under the wing. If we look at a section of a bird's wing from the side, we see that it is big up front and then tapers off toward the back, kind of like an airplane wing. When talking about flying, this shape is called an airfoil. Now, the air flows around the wing like water in a river. If you've ever been on a river, you'll notice that it moves very slow at the wide parts, but speeds up really fast when the river narrows. This is because the same amount of water that was in the wide parts now has to move through a much smaller space at the narrow parts. And so the air is just like several rivers flowing side by side past the bird's wing. The shape of the wing, the airfoil, makes it so the river of the air that flows over the top of the wing gets squeezed and narrowed. And just like a river, this air has to speed up. And the river of air that flows under the wing actually widens and slows down a little. Now imagine you are traveling down this river of air and you have a cannon on your boat. The airfoil is an island and you are trying to shoot it with your cannon. But you have to reload the cannon every time you fire, so you can only shoot it once every few minutes. If you are going really fast down the river, you will only have time to shoot a few cannonballs at the island. But if you go down the wider part of the river at a much slower pace, you will be able to hit the island with more cannonballs. This is kind of what happens with a bird's wing, but instead of cannonballs, it's the air that's landing on the wing. Because the air on top is pushing less on the wing than the air on the bottom, the wing gets moved upward. This upward push is called lift, and it's the main reason birds are able to fly. But there are other tricks birds use too. To get more air to pass over their wings, birds will flap them, especially when taking off. When they do, they rotate their wings forward and down and then lift them back up to start over again. Rotating the wing forward causes the lift from the air to push the bird not only in an upward direction, but forward as well.
So next time you're riding your bike, I want you to try this. If you can be safe riding your bike with one hand, I want you to put one hand out. And if you kind of can make a curve, I want you to hold your hand like that and see if you can feel the air going over and under. Then I want you to try 2 different things. So I want you to go like this and see what that feels like with the air. And then I want you to just go like that and ride. You'll feel it pushing against your hand. You'll feel the air pushing against your hand. And that's what the part of flying that's called the drag. And then all of a sudden, turn your hand and see how it feels different.
This forward push is called thrust. As you can imagine, all this flapping takes a lot of energy, and so birds have large lungs to help them breathe and strong muscles to move their wings. Not only that, but their body is shaped to cut through the air efficiently.
You see all the air sacs, like we talked about and
And
studied.
their bones are hollow, which makes them very lightweight to begin with. So a bird relies on many tools to get through the air, not just its wings. As for people, we are heavy and can't produce the energy needed to fly by ourselves, so we use aircraft to get through the air. And even though we use machines to get off the ground, it's still fun to imagine that we can fly like the birds.
All right, so fly like a bird on your bike, like I said. You can get the feeling of the air and really feel the drag, and then see if you can feel the lift of it coming if you curve your hand over like that. And also try a little bit like this. All right, fly, fly away, fly, fly away. Bye.